This is the Kings Creek Podcast. All right. This is episode 16, I think. Look at that. We started rolling these podcasts back out, man.
Spitting them
out. All right. Well, this is kind of a fun episode. This is just going to be Jesse and I, but we're going to recap some things that have happened to include Jesse's big 5-0. 50 years old, man.
You didn't talk about that.
Half a century.
I mean,
that's crazy to say.
A number.
That's crazy to say.
It's a different number, you know. But
yeah,
I did have a good friend of mine, Amanda. She told me, she said, you know, you're okay with it as a like when you just turned 50, you're okay with it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, because you literally wake up feeling the same way. It's now the outside perception of what 50 is and the reaction that other people have about you being 50 and
mm-hmm.
you know, fit. Oh my gosh, I didn't know you were fit. You know, it's like you're looked at in a different, you know, you're not that, you know, when older guys think of, yeah, it's that young guy, what's his name? You know, whatever. Well, when you get to be about 50, they don't say that as much.
Yeah. I feel like 50 has become the new 30 though. Like think of what Joe Rogan, for example, he's almost 60 years old. He's 57 and dude is, you know,
I mean, he's
buffed out and he's gotten so many people that, you know, I would never look at him and say like, wow, that dude's old, but he's 57.
Right. And I definitely don't feel it, but you know, you start realizing that you got a lot more out in the rear view than you got through the windshield.
Nah, you never know.
It just makes, I think it's part of what, you know, humbles you and kind of makes you appreciate things a lot more.
Yeah.
It's not just me. I think it's, you know, a lot of people have that same mentality. You think, oh, it's just a crusty old man. He's sappy. He's this. But I think when you start getting a little bit older and you see, because I can look back and think about, you know, the 45 years that I can remember, and you think as fast as that went by, I've got 80% of that left. You know what I'm saying? It's just, and it gets faster every year.
Yeah. You know what I've heard as a theory as to why life gets faster when you're older is because you run out of first-time experiences. Like, you know, when you're coming up, you have a lot of firsts and things, and then you stop having a lot of firsts.
I can see that.
It'd be pretty, I mean, it's an interesting concept.
And I, you know, in a weird way, I think that you just literally experience things totally different. You know, like when all my, you know, a lot of friends are having kids or my little fuse, all my little, I need to say nephews because people are like fuse, but all my little fuse that I've got, you just appreciate it in a, just even more so than what you even did with your own children, because you're just, that's why I think grandkids are so special. You know?
You get to look through life through the lens of wisdom versus noviceness, whatever that word is.
But I'd like to think that.
Yeah.
But you do gain a lot of, you know, earthly, I mean, you gain a lot of wisdom, period, not just earthly wisdom, but, you know, it's a different feeling, but it couldn't have been a better week. You know, that's also how you know it's a big deal. Instead of Melissa waking up on my birthday telling me happy birthday and all that, this started on Monday. My birthday's on Thursday.
Had a whole week.
And she had, her and the kids did a bunch of different things for me throughout the whole week. And it was unreal. And then to cap it off at the very end with our core friend group, all 8 of us went, 8 total, 4 couples, but we all finished it up at a wedding. And so it's a little odd thinking about it that way.
Right.
It's like you go through this whole week of celebrating your birthday and now you're 50 and all this big stuff, you know, and then it ends with a stuffy tuxedo or suit at somebody getting married and they're just starting this journey.
Right.
So it's pretty cool, but it was an awesome week.
That's awesome. He just also fails to mention that he did play Pinehurst. So there's that in there. Of those things that he said he got to do this week, that is one of them. Hung out with some pretty interesting people up there.
Yeah, it was.
You can say that or not, whatever. It's up to you.
Well, I mean, I'm going to protect them.
Yeah.
Because they're friends and I don't want them to think I'm I'm after something, but it's
Donald Trump. No, I'm kidding. Could you imagine?
no, I could not.
Yeah,
really. But I'm going to tell you, it was.
Wow, you're turning 50.
It's a great number.
The magnificent 50.
Yeah,
Some say it's the best.
mine was the best.
Yeah.
But yeah, people that make a big deal out of things like that and help to make you feel special. I mean, you just appreciate it. And I think that, it couldn't have, it literally couldn't have been, maybe I could have shot a little better score coming off of that round at Sage.
Did you beat your age on any of the nines?
I did.
Both nines?
Yeah.
All right.
Which I just told everybody, I said, we're going to agree today. The bet is that, beat your age or you got to pay up.
Right.
And they're like, dude, that's not going to work. And I'm like, why? I mean, you guys are like 40, turning 40, 45. You should be able to,
that's a reasonable ask. It's not like way outside the.
Yeah. I mean,
they're members at country clubs, so
I didn't know
they should be able to.
I didn't know I was going to beat everybody.
Yeah, there's no excuse if you're a member somewhere.
I mean, I could have, I was just a few putts away from playing a bit better than what I did, but I think I shot 86 or something like that.
That's not bad. What'd you shoot on the back nine?
Yeah,
no, I'm kidding.
I mean, and that course, if you don't think it ain't got a bunch of, that course is toothy.
Yeah,
it is tough. We played number 10, the new course, and it was, the caddies are obviously they're the guys that I played with. They're regular, the ones when they go, they always get the same caddies and stuff. So they're the top of the food chain when it comes to caddies, and there's a reason for that.
Right.
And it makes me second guess every time I aimlessly wander down the fairway of a golf course. Excuse me. It just was magic. I mean, it was awesome. I loved it.
That's awesome.
And we were coming off the eve of, I think we were going to talk about the man-to-man conference a little bit. Yeah,
that was part of it.
I had a pretty weird round of golf before on the Friday, the man-to-man conference. That was, there's a few people that do that.
Yeah.
But the tail of 2 nines,
yeah, almost. What'd you shoot? You almost shot like 50 on the front, and then you went par on the back.
48, 36.
Yeah.
And so it's like, and I was just, it's the second round of the year for me. And so I knew I was going to be a little rusty.
Yeah. Well, I think it was probably that Q-zip pullover, the hooded pullover that y'all just released.
It obviously that played a factor in it.
Yeah.
It played a small role, maybe a large role. I don't know what it was. I'll dress like that every time I play if I can get heated up like I did on the back. Probably left 3 putts out there on the back. Yeah. It's 2 under going into 17 and dunked 1 in the water. But that course, for anybody that's played that course, it's not for the faint of heart.
Right.
It's got a stepbrother across town that, they kind of compete.
Mm-hmm.
I think.
That's from what I've heard. Sage Valley, by the way. That's what we're talking about.
And it is, there's no competing with the course here in Augusta with history, with amenities, with the nostalgia.
Yeah.
That there's, I don't know of a place that can compete with that.
Yeah.
But
even, I'm going to say this, not from golfing standards, but like from a tournament perspective. I just got back from the Players with Jenna, and going to the Masters almost ruins like tournament experiences at these other places. Not that the courses aren't beautiful, but it's like just the whole experience is so different. You can't even put words to it, really.
It's kind of like going to Disney World and then coming home to Six Flags.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
It's the same things are happening.
Like there's just one course that does it better, and that happens to be Augusta National.
Right. And there's I don't think there's any really debate about that.
Yeah.
Even among the people that know a lot more about it than we do. I don't even think as much as we like it and enjoy it out there, I don't think we can truly appreciate everything that it really is, even when you try to. But it also getting out there to play is a whole different deal. And so Sage, to me is close your eyes coming in, albeit extremely beautiful everywhere there too.
Right,
Just in order to fully trick your brain. You know, when you're on the tee box, there's no difference to me.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's what I've heard. I've yet to go out there, but that's what I've heard from people that go to play there. So
to be able to have a pretty good round out there was pretty awesome. And so it was, and a lot of it I think had to do with, you know, the mental side of it. Your mind is kind of free.
Mm-hmm.
I knew we had a good weekend coming up. I didn't know the week that I had following that, because Melissa and them didn't tell me what all I was doing this past week until Monday morning when I woke up. They were sweet. They had like a poster board on one of our doors inside the house that had Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, you know, the whole bit.
Yeah.
Pictures and stuff, and it kind of just told me what I was doing every day. And then they made a big, I don't know, fat boy's turning 50 or something sign. No, I think Dad is 50. I don't remember what the sign itself said, but there were pictures of me and the kids, like when they were babies till now, you know, to see.
Right.
It was pretty cool. I mean, it wasn't pretty cool. It was really cool to see how they, you know, put forth a lot of effort, and I'm talking about it filled the week up. So anyway, I say all that to say, I think that freed my mind up while we were there playing, knowing I had the conference coming up, and I was excited about the speakers, and we were playing with some of the speakers, and you know, I was kind of fired up about that, and I knew we had a good, so it was just, I'm out there just having fun with those guys and wasn't thinking about scores, even though Marcelo tried to tell me every other shot, you know where you are, don't you? You know where you are. You know where you're at. I mean, I'm not trying to mess you up, but I'm just telling you, you know, you could do something pretty cool out here if you keep, you know. I'm like, thanks.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you pulled through. You pulled through at the end, so that's what matters. And you lived to tell the story about it. So it's
a good time.
That's incredible. All right. So for the rest of this podcast, we basically, wanted to cover the Man-to-Man conference, kind of talk about how that event went, and then looking forward, the Battle One charity event. That's kind of like the next big thing, I think, at least on Kings Creek calendar.
Yeah, we get through the big week here.
Yeah, so there's Masters Week, which is a big week. It's kind of tied into that almost. Mm-hmm. There's going to be some new stuff being released. Secret stuff. Jesse told me about it before we started hitting record, and
it's going to be fun.
It's going to be a whirlwind of sales, I think. So
it's going to be fun. If it's anything like it was at the Man-to-Man conference, then I'm excited about it. I think it's going to be cool, and you know, and I think that's going to be our approach. I mean, and we had decided this at the beginning of the year too, that we're going to do less core products.
Just more like experimental, like let it run. Let the creativity run.
And just stop being, you know, suppressed by the factory or by, you know, availability of this or that. And just go out there and say, well, I'm going to do whatever I got to do to make this as good as I can make it. And if the people like it, cool. If not, we'll go back to the drawing board and we'll try something different. But it's worked
so far, at least. Yeah. Yeah. Y'all released probably 5 or 6 new products at Man-to-Man. Close. I mean,
8. 9, I mean, with all the hoodies and golf shirts and quarter zip hoodies.
Y'all got like a youth.
Hoodies,
a
youth duck hoodie. I think 4 or 5 hats. Yeah, so it was kind of and we really wanted to do that there because that event really means so much to us. Why not just wait and give the people that are at the event an opportunity to get their hands on some of this stuff first? And they responded. Yeah.
Yeah, it was, let's talk about the event a little bit. So the event was basically centered around the word team or teamwork, essentially, and it talks about how every man needs a team, someone to surround themselves with. And Pastor McKinley geniusly broke up the word team into, what was the T? I forgot the T. Truth. And then it was encouragement, accountability, and mission. And each speaker basically had covered one of those.
They were all assigned a topic.
And so we had Dr. Jeremiah Johnston for truth, who's basically a super genius scholar when it comes to anything biblical. You know who I think would be a really cool conversation would be him and that Wes Huff. You seen him lately? The Canadian apologetics guy? I think that'd be a really cool conversation to listen to, those two guys. When he started talking about the facsimile, I had like learned about that specifically from seeing some of Wes's stuff. So I like knew what that was, which was pretty cool.
It is unreal to hear somebody that is so, I mean, and I'm not big. I mean, anybody that knows me would know this is a pretty accurate statement. I'm just not big on super in-depth intellectual whatever.
Right.
The whole apologetic side of things and anything that gets scholar behind your name is something that I'm not normally very interested in. But I mean, it's cool to see people that are, but you'd have never convinced me from meeting him at Sage and then hearing him speak. And I knew none of his accolades. I don't want to know anything about these guys other than name. If I don't know or have never heard of them,
right.
I don't want to go in there and like one year I went in and did a bunch of investigating on all of them. I wanted to really know as much as I could. And it just, to me, it kind of ruined the experience of them telling their stories and all that stuff. So I like going in it just kind of blind and then just getting to hang out with them ahead of time and then hearing the accolades afterwards and then hearing them speak. I just like the surprise of that. And then I can't help, but I always try to rank them. Like, this guy's going to kill it. This guy right here, he's going to have to work hard to connect because he's a little, I always try to figure that out in my brain because if you're doing a conference, you have to, with multiple speakers, you've got to have a leadoff hitter and you got to have a closer. And then you put everybody else in the middle. And so you try to figure out who's going to, this year, anybody 100% could have been in any spot.
Yeah.
And hold their own with any crowd. And we knew going into this when we were talking about it, and I know a lot of the guys behind the scenes are praying about this event because it is a big deal for this community, and so you want it to connect, and you want them to to really connect with the audience at the end of the day, and we just thought because we didn't overload the stage with super notables and well known. Outside of, I don't think if you're in that world, you would have not heard of these people.
Yeah.
Because they're all, I mean, I'm definitely not going to cut them short or sell them short. I mean, they're they're way up there. But in terms of in their craft.
Yeah.
But like I mean, we had Sid Bream, and that name, for Atlanta Braves fans, I mean, that name means something. And so that's a draw. And so you try to have a name draw kind of a guy, and then you've got some substance guys and you got some fun guys and whatever. But this year we just felt like it was going to be something special because we got the right people and weren't really as concerned about.
It was more about the message, less about the messaging.
Right. And that's a nerve-wracking, I mean, it's a nerve-wracking thing to when you're trying to figure out, this is, you hope for 1,000, 11, 12, whatever. I mean, we way oversold it and somehow fed most, if not everybody. And because we didn't want to turn anybody away, we wanted everybody to hear that we could possibly get in there. And so to know that we could support that and do it at the level of excellence that we kind of feel like we're held to that standard was unreal to me. And I knew it was going to be a special year because it seems to always be a special year when you least expect it. And it was nothing less.
It was one of those for me where I didn't really, the previous years I spent a lot of time thinking about it. And this year it kind of more so just came up from behind me, and all of a sudden, I'm at the conference, and it pleasantly surprised me. How cool. I want to shout out Dr. Jeremiah Johnson for letting us hold. So he brought this legitimately 800-year-old scroll that was smuggled out of modern day Iran. Right? Iraq?
Yeah, under Saddam's reign.
Through in car tires or something, but it was the whole book of numbers in a scroll, embossed, if that's what you would call the term back then, on
I don't know how they did
some leather. Yeah, I don't know how they did it either. But I was like, that was the craziest thing, is just holding something that's legitimately 800 years old.
And dude passed it around.
Yeah.
So he's a psychopath for doing that. Call it what it is.
Yeah, that was.
I don't know what kind of Lords of London insurance or whatever you need. I mean, I was explaining to some people that, first off, I'm going to have to confess. I was like, there's no way. There's no way that this freaking thing is 800 years old.
Yeah.
Aside from the fact it's together, it's legible, and he's just standing there flopping it around, and I'm thinking, I don't know. I just was like, look, I've got to fact check this thing. So I did go look, and there's legit, items out there in the market that are like that.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I've never seen, I don't know if I've ever held anything that's 100 years old.
Yeah. 800 years old is crazy.
That's way back. It's
pre-Christopher Columbus coming here. Like, think about that.
Yeah. I'm 100%. And then I'm like, let's pass this thing around.
Yeah, it was crazy.
But that's a way to...
You're crazy for that, but thank you for also giving people the opportunity to, physically touch something like that.
For sure. I got so nervous when he walked right over there, and I knew he was going to come straight to us.
Yeah.
And here he comes, and I'm like, man, I don't really want to be the first one, but I will. Thankfully I had a couple guys over there that looked at it first.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was cool.
It was so cool.
And then started off.
Who was it? Ken Whitten?
Ken Whitten.
Mm-hmm. Man, to close out so he covered encouragement, and I think everyone left that building just buzzing. He had so much energy, just was like, I don't know. He just had such a good spirit about him, and I think uplifted a lot of men that night. And he had this one kind of like a little joke. So he's from Idlewild, right? Idlewild Baptist?
Yes.
Down in the Tampa area?
Mm-hmm. Tampa.
And he was saying how that's like, he's pastor of a church with two names that every Baptist should hate, like Idols and Wild.
Yeah.
And it was just like, he had so many little one-liner, like zingers like that were just so funny. And he brought the house down that night. And then A was accountability.
Right. We started the next morning.
Or it didn't start with accountability. I'm trying to think, because we had one little like interview style.
We had Court. Mm-hmm. Court Holloway from Shores Church in Wells, Maine, mm-hmm. which is a church that we have partnered with, a church plant there. And to see him come in and speak and give him an opportunity, one, to thank, our church and the staff, which if there's anybody that knows, how Court is, that everybody kind of took away from that. And I've talked to many people afterwards. Mm-hmm. I had a great conversation with Court on my way to Pinehurst, just a follow-up kind of a deal, just give him a few days to decompress. And then I wanted to reach out to him and talk to him. So I called him on the way, and I've had more people say that the spirit of gratitude and gratefulness is, a huge character trait that he has. And you could tell how grateful and thankful he was. And he brought a couple of his guys, Adam and Stefan, with him. And I know from my perspective, knowing where we were a couple of years ago, and then to not only the last year get to go to his church that he planted, while they were at the senior center, community mm-hmm. center. And then now they've recently got a building finally. So they've got their own church building, and we've been able to partner with them to help them with some things to get that building in a shape that they could actually have service and all that kind of thing. It's just unreal to me, because you either go to a big mega church and see all this, and then I'm kind of like, man, this is a little big and all that. Or you hear these ideas of these meetings in people's houses and what have you. They haven't really got to that point yet. But to see it, this is the first time I've ever in my life been a part of maybe the start of it.
Yeah. The actual like in the house process.
Right. And then now you see where it is, because you can't really, and I think it gives, it's encouraging, because you think that you're just wasting time a lot of times when you go try to get started with some of this stuff, because it's hard for me to see the end product. Mm-hmm. And so being able to witness that with him and see the end product is, that's going to be fuel for however long.
Yeah. Yeah. He was, so impressive. I think he really embodied the spirit of gratitude that day.
100%.
But I think he was kind of like, as Pastor alluded to, he was the embodiment of teamwork and like what can happen through surrounding yourself with the right people.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, and it doesn't necessarily have to come from like you're trying to receive all the time attitude. Like, he gave up a lot to put himself in a situation to receive a lot, if that makes sense. You got to really know his story, but he moved to the middle of nowhere, Maine to start a church and then ended up kind of, flat bottom broke. No church.
They lost everything. They sold everything.
Yeah. And then, a couple years later, here he is. I don't even know if it's been a couple years. Maybe.
Yeah.
I think he said he moved in like early. Yeah.
So 2 years.
Just, it's a lot's changed. And I think he was an awesome speaker. And then Titus Green came on, who's the pastor's old church in Merritt Island, First Baptist, Merritt Island. And he was hilarious.
What?
Another good guy.
What a guy.
Yeah.
We spent time with him as well early. And at the end of I felt like I've known him for so long and he's got such a good story. And a lot of these people just obviously you're proud to spend time with them and you enjoy spending time with them. But I've got a lot of quiet time after that to where I'm like, dude, you suck. You're so, what are you doing? You know what I'm saying? And that's who I like to surround myself with. I want to feel great when I'm with you. And I want a little bit of kind of like something pricking me in my back saying, hey, look, man, you need to move. There's some things you need to do. And he definitely challenged us to that. And when he was speaking about accountability, and that is a forgotten consequence.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I think accountability, personal responsibility and accountability is like something it's lost and in the wild at the moment in our society.
For sure. It's kind of like a lot of people, I think, maybe some boomers and a little younger than that. It's the yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, yes or no, sir. That's kind of a lost art.
Yeah.
Not as much down here, but across the country, you will I've had more negative experiences with yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, yes or no, sir, than I could ever even start to talk about, where it just infuriates people that you say yes, ma'am, or no, ma'am, and to me, it's like, I don't know what, not to mention whenever you bring in, am I yes, ma'aming somebody that I should be yes, sirring, or am I yes, sirring somebody that should be a yes, ma'aming? There's that whole debacle going on.
Right.
And I'm like, look, I'm just calling it like I see it. I apologize. I didn't mean no harm by it, but I didn't know when you woke up today you were going to decide you were something else. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It's kind of like I'm old school.
Yeah.
You're born with the hardware that determines the rest of your life.
Right.
So anyway, yeah, that was
Titus Green. He was a stud. Yeah, I really enjoyed his message. It's something that I just have spent a lot of time personally thinking about over the last few years, is accountability and how you just need that in your life. But more importantly, when it comes to teamwork, is having friends that keep you accountable.
Right. And
that always comes back to, I heard this quote a long time ago, and it's hard to really put it into practice because it feels kind of forced, but they said there's the role of 33%. So 33% of your friends should be far above you, 33% should be your peers, and 33% you should be your subordinate, or you're mentoring them. Mm-hmm. And so you're constantly being able to learn new things, express new things between peers, and then apply new things to the people below. To bring somebody up. So I was like, it's something that I've spent a lot of time thinking about, is the accountability aspect and surrounding yourself with good people. And so I was pleasantly not surprised, but just, I really like to hear his message. And then Sid Bream closed it, and you're going to hate me for this. I had no idea who he was.
I think that it's not uncommon.
Baseball just wasn't my thing. So
I get it. I get it.
So, but like you said, how you had done your research on these people, I had no idea who he was. So it was cool that I got to live that story in real time of his slide or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas, I'm sure 80% of that crowd knew that by heart, the whole story. So it was cool to hear that for the first time. And like he played the radio call of that slide into home plate. And that was for what? That was not the national championship. That was for like
that was to get
conference championship or something.
That's what got the Braves to the World Series in '92.
Did they win that year? Look at that.
But he's, when you see somebody that's, you can see the effects of playing ball.
Oh yeah, he was
on his body.
His knees were looking
how he sacrificed.
He left a lot on that play on that slide. Let's put it like that. His knees have seen better days, I'm sure, but he still looked like he had so much youth in his spirit, and it's not that he's old, but you know what I'm saying. Like so much youth and excitement in his spirit. I mean, he came and preached a sermon I would never hear, think of a baseball player giving.
Right. And I like the fact, and I don't know if you noticed this or not, but he mentioned the word mission in the very beginning, because when he was recapping team, the truth, was he encouragement, and then accountability and mission, and he kind of did that. He never, and I didn't know that I was going to kind of appreciate and like it, but he never mentioned mission really again, and like tied certain things that happened to him, and this is my mission. He basically told several stories and show, I guess he explained by telling stories that his life and how he's lived his life through baseball and everything else. And that's everywhere he's ever been has been a mission field for him.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's important, that you don't have to, I don't think, at least with myself, I can't give this advice to the world, nor am I qualified to, but I feel like when I start to think I'm going to go do this somewhat from the standpoint of a mission related deal,
mm-hmm.
I don't really think I execute like I could. Whereas if I just kind of create my life to be that mission field, it's easier for me to keep up with it. I can keep up with how I act and then know that there's no external circumstances that determine what I'm doing or how I'm acting. I just hold myself to a certain accountability to where it can always be a mission field. Like when I was leaving your podcast, when we met, I worked in our church.
Yeah.
And I think that's, and I don't think it was done in what I would consider I don't know, I might be wrong. You can correct me on here, but at least it didn't come out as it was being anything other than a pure imitation.
Yeah, no, that's exactly what I took it as. It was one of those moments where it was like the teamwork thing coming into and like blossoming and coming to fruition in front of me, where it was like you were holding me account. You were encouraging throughout the entire like conversation and that day. You gave me truth, you kept me accountable, and then you almost set me on a mission, by sticking to your mission, you essentially help put other people on theirs and realize theirs.
And I think that's where I probably tried maybe over the last, 10 years, I've tried to figure out how I cannot waste opportunities with people. And by no means do I feel like I'm the answer.
Right.
But whatever role that I'm supposed to play, to me, it always needs to lead to something else. Either I'm introducing you to a cool friend group, because I'm talking about, I stand on the fact that you need, not you personally, but I think men, to be the husbands that we need to be the men we need to be. Obviously, we have got to have a right relationship, in Jesse's opinion, with God. And then I feel like you need to surround yourself with that, because I'm telling you, I could go back to Pinehurst. I had about 6 tables that I could have joined when we were eating lunch.
Mm-hmm.
And brother, I don't know if I'd have made it back to Augusta, because I could have gotten deep in the weeds that quickly.
Yeah.
But obviously I was surrounded with a group of guys that
keep
never
you accountable.
would allow that happen, to happen. And but even if not, it's so easy to justify and really speaking about this mission topic, you have to be very careful because, you know, you could be mission minded. And when you and somebody else are together, somebody's influencing somebody. You're either influencing them or they're influencing you. And I'm just going to tell you, more times than not, bad wins in that situation.
Right.
And so I also know that I'm not the type of guy, and I don't think this is just me. I think this is men in general. We're not really built to resist a ton of temptation. Mm-hmm. So the only way that I can be sure that I'm not subjecting myself to make the right decision so many times that I start to justify the wrong decision.
Right.
I have to manage my environment. I have to manage where I am. That's the telltale sign. I used to preach it to Noah where he literally probably wanted to kill me. But I would tell him, look, son, when it is just you and a female and y'all are dating and you put yourself in a position to where you have to constantly be strong and do the right thing and make sure you don't put yourself I said, dude, there's not going to be, you've got about 2 or 3 of those in you that you can be strong.
Yeah.
4 of them, you're going to start.
That flesh starts to win.
Everything starts to change.
Yeah.
So I told him, I said that you need to manage your circumstances and your environment. That's the only thing you have control over. Just don't even allow yourself to go there, because don't depend on yourself to make the right decision. Mm-hmm. Because depending on where you are in that list of I can be strongs and I'm not as strong is going to greatly affect the outcome of that situation. And I think that's the way it is with guys. So when you're on mission, you need to make sure that one, that you pray about it and you really do have a mission in mind. And then after that, you need to have set some dates, some goals for look, I'm going to try to carry this relationship from here to here in a certain amount of time. And to me, that helps me alleviate just getting in a rut. And then I've got good friends and then I got not so good friends. You know, you know what I'm saying? It's kind of like if I don't have some sort of a time that I'm going to either hold somebody accountable or I'm going to try to have some deep conversations with them and really try to, because I'm going to be honest with you, I don't want this to sound the wrong way, but as you get a little bit older, you realize that I don't really have time for unhealthy, unproductive, relationships. I'm at a point in my life where I don't have time for that. I'm not going to take away from the good conversations that I have with people that are my closest friends.
Right.
I don't want to take away from that, because I know how much we still need all of that within our groups and within our friends. And so I'm not saying that I'm better than, I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying, me personally, I can't be everything that I feel like I need to be if I'm not getting a good dose of the people that I feel like hold me accountable.
Yeah. No, absolutely. It's incredibly true. Your friends matter, essentially. Who you surround yourself with matters, for sure. And I think there's science to back that up. There's so much. Actually, to kind of further prove that point, this actually has to do with addicts. Addicts that go to rehab, get clean.
Oh, I thought you were talking about in a house.
No, addicts, like drug addict.
Okay, drug
like
addict.
Fentanyl,
and
crack cocaine, stuff like that. Addicts, yeah. Addicts that go to rehab and then go back home, like their relapse rate is far higher than those who rehab and then choose a new geographic location.
Right.
Almost it's like fivefold. It's crazy, like the dramatic difference that it makes. And I think personally, that has all to do with you're changing your environment, who you're around. You don't have like the connections that you do. It's not like drug dealer Joe down the corner. Like you would have to go and source that again. And I think when you're of the clear mind after rehab, I think it's a little bit easier to deal with that, For
sure, especially if you've got other people that would be there to tell you how much of an idiot you would be. It just
you have to do it again.
Now all of a sudden you're in a different geographical area and you go up to this new friend group that you've got and say, hey, look, man, anybody know where I can score some whatever?
Right.
They're going to be like, what in the world are you talking
about? Yeah. You're not in this friend group anymore, bud.
Yeah. But I do know that, and the thing about it is we're pretty habitual anyway. And so I just know that as solid as you could put a group of guys together, 3 or 4 guys. Well, I do know one thing. I'll preface it with saying a group of 3 or 4 guys is a lot harder to influence than a group of 2. That's pretty common sense. So a group of just one person is the easiest to influence of all. And so when if we were to take a couple buddies and decide we were going to go to some other area, random, and if we had meanness on the mind, or if we didn't, if we stayed there and we allowed ourselves to be plugged into areas that we shouldn't be in, everybody can fall into that, that rut.
Yeah.
And so you have to really proactively decide, and you need to schedule and arrange your days to where, you grow up hearing an idle mind's the devil's workshop. And there's so many different cliches and sayings. I'm going to tell you, they're true.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you hear parents say it all the time. Like, I keep my kid in after school activities to keep him out of trouble.
I mean, and it works.
Yeah. 100. Well, yeah, they have no time to do anything bad,
It works. And so in my opinion, the step up from that is one to try to be as engaged. But I think that what we're starting to experience is because now we've got a lot more moms that are working outside of the home.
Mm-hmm.
And then don't think that stuff that they used to do inside the home, they still don't do. So you've got her double. I mean, she's working 2 jobs essentially, but without her being there and being able to nurture those kids when they get off the bus and all of that kind of stuff that we take for granted. I mean, it doesn't take long to see that there was a reason that God set things up a certain way.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not best if they're set up that way. It's right if they're set up that way. And so if you're going to change that a little bit, you just need to be a little bit more intentional, and you just need to you and your spouse need to get together and have a good plan, I think. I don't think that, if a mom works that she can never have good kids. But, we both worked.
Right.
I'm not saying we're some upper echelon and none of us, Melissa and I didn't work, but I think she was really good at filling time. And that's all it was. You're just managing time. And the first several years, you're just trying to keep them from dying.
Yeah. You realize when you have kids, like how much it is more of that than it is like you feel like you're parenting is more just making sure they don't die.
Yeah. You don't start parenting till they start having some real problems.
Yeah. Yeah. Where, Jackson is in that age where like nothing is off. I mean, any counter is climbable. Every socket looks like it needs to be touched. That kind of, you're just like, dude, all right,
And you kind of want to let them stick your finger in it, buddy.
Well, the things that aren't going to,
it's like, this is going to pop, but you know better than me.
You can only say don't touch the stove so many times before they do it, and Luke Combs wrote a song about it.
That's right.
That's how prevalent that is. But I do want to, let's wrap up our little conversation on Man to Man. I want to shout out Levi, game warden, our friend. We saw him at Man to Man, and he
how cool was that?
Blessed us with some super cool like little challenge coins. You got the Arrowhead one, and I got the one with the quail badge on it. So
it's not one of my normal situations. Usually, if I'm pretty into something and I heard the exclusivity of the quail, then it would be just a matter of time to where I would figure out a way to get that.
Yeah. Well,
but
we have a connection with Mr. Bohannon here, so
I think it's cool.
We'll find a way to maybe show our fans or something. I say our fans. There's probably like
both of y'all.
Yeah, all 4 of you guys who listen. No, I'm kidding.
That's Mama Woj.
Yeah, and Brandon, our boy,
Brandon.
boy. I saw him at the Man to Man, and
I saw 2 other UPS guys, and I did not see him.
Oh, really?
And I was so mad that I didn't.
I don't think he was in UPS Brown.
He said he went and changed.
Yeah,
but I saw 2 UPS Brown guys. So, don't get me wrong. I chased him down and didn't take long to realize that wasn't him.
Yeah.
I've kind of gotten used to seeing him.
One of the UPS guys looked like Jonah Hill a little bit from Superbad, but I didn't want to say that to him. So not at that event. But yeah, all right. So looking forward, we have the Masters tournament coming up here in a good old Augusta, Georgia. I think it's going to be a really cool year to see the course. I'm not going, but to see the course on TV after Hurricane Helene and how much changed or didn't change. I know they took a whooping just from the rumblings I've heard around town, but they also have the resources to make that go away.
Make it never happen.
Yeah. So I'm curious to see what that looks like. We're renting our house this year for the first time.
You are?
Yeah.
I didn't know.
We're trying to fill up our Saturday, Sunday slot. So if someone's looking, let us know.
I don't know what days they are, but get with Melissa because she does have somebody looking for 2 days.
Yeah. Yeah. We're just looking to fill up Saturday, Sunday.
But yeah, have as well. And it's been there's a lot of houses that were lost. So in the storms, and a lot of those houses were rented,
Right.
Especially, along the hill and stuff like that. So, it's a year for people that are considering doing it to get rewarded pretty handsomely for doing it. But I'm going to be very, I can't wait for us to rehash after your first rental experience to see what you think about it.
Yeah. I don't want to go too far into the weeds on this story, but we had a possible renter who would have been like ideal, but they were still shopping around. Mm-hmm. It would have been a private rental, not like through Verbo or anything. And then we had someone inquire like that next day on Verbo. And so we just accepted the Verbo one because the other people were just taking a little bit too long. It would have been ideal to use the other people because they had a kid, like they had an infant and a 2-year-old, which is our house is set up for an infant and a 2-year-old. So it was like, we wouldn't have to swap anything. It would have been so perfect, but I don't think it's going to work out like that, but it's all good. We'll see. The work has definitely started. Jenna's cracked down on me with all the stuff that's got to get fixed and done before they get in our house. So yeah,
the list just grows. I think I would like to say that we've gotten kind of pretty routine about it.
Yeah.
It forces you to do some spring cleaning and some,
the amount of junk that you realize you have doing it that you just accumulate. I've probably made, Jenna's probably made 5 trips to Goodwill by now.
I mean, and it really is a good.
And it's junk, like things that you're like, why? When did I get this and why did I get this?
Tell me about it. I mean, it's a problem. And then, now that this little caveat this year was both of the kids are back from school and from, since Noah's about to get married. So he came back before he moves into his other house with his fiance after they're married.
I knew you were going to throw that in there.
In case somebody's out there, word checking me. But, so we kind of had that situation handled. Their rooms were we'd already converted them from their rooms to
guest rooms
and all that. And then we had to double back. And so now we're going to have to, it just caused a little bit of stuff. And we got so many of them fused that we got beds set up for them and all the little kid stuff that we're having to get rid of that we haven't in years past. But I think the biggest difference for me personally is being kind of a yard addict and with the landscaping. And
you can come over and help me.
Well, let me tell
you,
this year is a problem because of that storm and all the trees that everybody lost and the months that went by before we could get out there and really start doing what we needed to do in preparation for the year, not just Masters, but for the, the summer. And we just weren't able to do that because we had 10, 15 foot tall shrub piles around everybody's houses and stuff, waiting on FEMA to come pick them up. And then they bring the whatever tool that was that they used, their little grapple, and they all but dug up a sprinkler system on one side of my house. I'm like, how deep are you trying to go, bro? I don't care if you leave a little scratch at the bottom. I'll handle that.
Yeah.
I just want these logs gone, and so now I've got a lack of grass in a couple different areas where they scraped up. And so I'm trying to put lipstick on a pig in some cases.
Yeah.
But for the most part, I think Melissa's going to do a couple of her big plant runs and we'll have it looking like something it needs to look like, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, at least that's what she says every year.
Yeah. We'll see how it goes. I'm excited to do it this year and see it. It's almost, for me, it's almost bittersweet. Like, I think I know that I could financially, it makes more sense to rent versus go. I mean, one, money's going out versus money coming in. But I just love going so much. Like, I didn't grow up going. I grew up a golf fan, though. So it's like, I'm going to take every chance I can to go.
Well, you can still go.
Yeah. I mean, I got to find tickets, though. That's the hard part. But that going back, though, that's kind of what makes the Masters, that tournament, when I was talking about, like, the Masters almost ruins it for other tournaments. It's so hard to go, but once you're in, like the barrier to entry is high, but once you're in, the gates are wide open, you know, like
right.
You can do so much. It's so fun. Costs like outside of the pro shop, but like you could fill your stomach up and not feel your wallet get dramatically lighter, you know?
And it almost seems cool.
Yeah.
So like it is so inexpensive.
Yeah. So you're walking out with 15 pimento cheese sandwiches and a bag of chips for $17 or whatever, you know?
It's unreal.
But yeah, and the players, I think we bought like a $22 burger. Like, it's just, the water bottles are $5, you know?
It's unreal. You know, we always go historically because it's so tight for us this week, meaning Masters week. We always took the next week because the next tournament is
RBC.
Heritage. And so we always go to the Heritage with some friends of ours. And just for one, like the first day of being at the tournament at the Heritage, you feel like everything you're doing is wrong because you're still in Masters mode.
Yeah, right.
For conducting yourself.
You got your phone on you. You're like, oh,
I forgot I don't know why I got my phone. I don't, it's so much, one of my buddies, he had a drink that he brought in. I mean, you walk off the street because the way that it is there in Hilton Head, and the house that we rent is right there. So you just walk out of your house and you're kind of there. And he opens up a drink when we're waiting on the putting for some people to putt. We're around the putting green and, it makes the big pop, and nothing but eyeballs turn and look at you. I just left him. I just walked off, but it's like, we are so not in Augusta, Georgia right now.
Yeah.
And so it is a freeing, odd feeling, but then to your point, you go, I want to get some there. They have like, kettle corn. That's their thing. They're kind of whatever. And there's a couple of different little things that they've got, but I mean, every time you go to the concession area, you're dropping 60 versus $10. You can't eat.
Yeah. $10 and you're bringing back like a cart full of stuff.
They're like, what are you buying?
You're like, this is
I had extra $10.
12 chicken salad sandwich, Jim.
Yeah, and everybody's like, I don't know what sandwich I want. Get one of each. You're going to be out $9.
Yeah.
And then finish the one that you really like. And so it's totally different when you go outside of that to other tournaments. And then not to mention, the grounds are substantially cleaner at this major than they are at other tournaments. Mm-hmm. But I'm telling you, the fun and the relaxing atmosphere in Hilton Head, I'm trying
to get my dad to go this year. We had tickets to Anwa last year, and he unfortunately couldn't get off work to come down. Which seems kind of crazy. I'm gonna put my dad on blast here for a second because first he's a diehard Packers fan. I got him tickets, and I grew up an Eagles fan. And I started liking the Bills.
You and Adam together.
And I bought him tickets to a Green Bay Philly game like 2 years ago.
NFL.
In Lambeau. It was like, I was like, oh, heck yeah, I got him these, super pumped. Couldn't go because of work. I was like, oh, bummed, And then I got Anwa tickets, and I said, come on, we're going. Couldn't go. So I was like, man, I'm putting him on blast for that. But anyways, I'm trying to get him to go to the RBC. I think it'd be something fun to do, some father-son time. It's been a while since he's been to a pro golf tournament. So they do LPGA tournaments all the time up there. Although last year the PGA Championship was there too in Oak Hill.
It's pretty stout.
So, but he didn't get to go to that. So I tried to go to the RBC this year. I think it's a cool tournament. It's cool. It's crazy to me though how they have a signature event right after a major.
It is, and I'm still I mean, we just on the eve of another signature event. I mean, isn't TBC considered a?
Yeah.
I mean,
the purse is $25 million.
Yeah, I mean, it's a signature event. I mean, you're starting to lose, the exclusivity of these signature events because there's so many of them that are just our signature events.
Yeah. I mean, I think that it deserves to be a signature event, but I would put Puerto Rico or some like random, the one that the big names kind of take
Bermuda or, I think that what it is they
Punta Cana.
Yeah, they start to lose these big major sponsorships because they can't sell enough tickets and people aren't coming to the tournament. And so then there's, the purses aren't really there and you're not getting the right players and it's just a trickle down effect. So, which I think is cool. I mean, one might just say that, hey, look, you just need to increase the purses.
Right.
That especially considering the defectors that have gone to live, let's just increase them. And look, I'm all for thinking, oh, these athletes make how much do they, it don't matter. I mean, we're there. I mean, it does not matter how much they're getting paid because we've already set that standard a long time ago.
Yeah.
So
I actually had this, my mom said something about golfers making too much money. This is my hot take. I think golfers deserve the money that they make more than any other pro athlete. Not that, football players don't put their bodies on the line. That's not what I'm talking about. Football is you play 17 games every year plus up to 3 if you're good enough. So you play,
which are bonus,
potentially 19, 20 games, right? And you make $60 million a year. And golf, and then just any other sport, right? So it's a lot of these team sports. Golf is not a team sport, and I don't think people realize the cadence of which these golfers have to perform at. So you're playing. Well, you get there on a Monday or Tuesday. You have a practice round Tuesday or Wednesday, or both days. Thursday, you
potentially a pro-am.
Yeah, potentially a pro-am on Wednesday. Thursday starts the tournament. Friday starts the tournament. If you make the cut, you have Saturday, Sunday, and then you basically start that whole thing next week. And you're like literally playing 18 holes every day, walking, interacting with fans, constantly traveling. I don't think people realize how hard that is. And then just to give Scotty a little bit more credit, to perform at that level so consistently, like back-to-back weeks, that to me is like even more impressive.
It makes you appreciate what Tiger did.
Oh, absolutely.
That
for the long, like the length of time, the amount of time that he had sustained world number one, that is one of the most monumental feats in sports history, let alone golf history.
Yeah, I mean, I think that really is something that won't ever happen again because he raised the awareness of the game now to a level that there is a huge amount of participants and people vying for those few spots. And if you haven't watched the Netflix special Full Swing, you get a little piece of what they go through. But as a golfer, you've got between, on average, I would say 65 and 75 shots every day, or every round, I should say, that have to be perfect, or as perfect as you can make them for that particular
given your
situation.
Circumstance, right?
Yeah. And you have to repeat that over and over and over again as you're getting fatigued, as the conditions outside are changing. You're not in an arena, as there are so many factors and so many things that you've got to work through and communicate. You got wind, you got no wind, sometimes you got wind on a tee ball and you got wind coming at you. You got help when you're on the tee box and you got hurt when you're hitting your approach shot.
Right.
And then come to find out the defense for the hole is really the green. And you're like, oh, well, perfect. I just slotted a driver and left me some crazy long iron in because the wind was right at me. And then I've got, a shot that is 175 yards. It's playing 130 because I've got wind, roaring behind me, helping me now. I got to stop it on this green. That's the defense. And then once you finally get there, you can't now you got to put the ball in the cup. So
yeah,
I do agree that these guys, maybe the number itself is a little bit exaggerated. Maybe it's a little expensive. I don't know, but that's what I can promise you one thing. Everybody involved is still profitable.
Oh, yeah.
So when you're talking about a percentage of profit, how much you determine it's worth to you to continue having these events and continue the sport, then, I mean, to me, it's a moot point, the dollar figure, because you still have to. I also want to preface that, golfers don't make money, they earn it. And a lot of sports, team sports, I mean, how many plays can you take off?
Well, that's the whole thing.
Yeah, 10 other people. Sport. In football, you got 4 other basketball players. I mean, you see it as well as I do. Just watch any, the drastically reduced amount of people watching NBA basketball. We're not even talking about any of the other sports. I'm just talking. I mean, you sit down and try to watch a baseball game lately?
Yeah, no, it's hard.
Like watching.
And they even made an effort to make it more popular or fast paced with the pitch clock.
Right, because and think about everybody that's in the dugout, everybody on the field, but you can also have the ability to sell tickets to an event that everybody is sitting at. You know what I'm saying? So it's like a determined. You don't know at a golf tournament. You don't know how many people you're going to have.
Right.
You don't know where you're going to put them. You don't know. I mean, I'm sure there's capacities. You sit on the ground. I mean, there's.
Yeah.
So, I think that it's a lot more predictable from a risk standpoint when you're on a team sport and you got stadiums that you can seat people in, you got numbered seats and, so you can kind of budget no different than we would a show if we were going to try to do a music show. You can kind of back into the number to figure out what it's going to take and what you can afford to pay the person. But these sports, the amount of merchandise they're selling and I mean, when's the last time you went and bought something from a golfer?
True. They
have the least amount of merch-related sales out of any sport. I mean, can you wear a Scotty Scheffler jersey?
No, that's the thing too, is like you wear the brand that the guy represents, not the guy.
And they get nothing for that.
Yeah.
Except if they're getting a brand deal, which I think they earn 110% of however. I mean, if you think about what Tiger did for Nike Golf, you think about what some of these other guys do for, they bring the revenue in.
Yeah.
And also it's an open market. I mean, if you think that if you want a piece of that $25 million player's purse, well, go out and get you a set of sticks and go out there and start swinging them.
Good luck, because they're good. I mean,
too good.
They're insane. I will say this: 17 looks intimidating. 18 is by far the scariest hole I've ever seen.
Imagine being
standing behind the tee box. I would rather take a shot on 17 on national television than I would on 18.
Well, because
the fairway is so small, like the window of a good shot is so limited.
35 yards.
Yeah.
Roughly.
If you're too far right, you're busted by trees, and then you're literally staring into the abyss of a lake, like to punch out. So it's like it's not even a good miss. And in the water, you're just in the water. So it's...
And these guys are taking these punch-outs underneath the trees, which is amazing to me, and literally purposely slinging that thing out over the water and drawing it back in.
Yeah.
Or cutting it back in if you're a righty. It's amazing to me you know what it takes to pull that off and that pressure. And now don't get me wrong, Steph Curry is an anomaly, where he's a generational talent that can jump across. You got to guard him past half court. And so I know that there are freak athletes in every sport. He will tell you, as this is a freak athlete speaking about other sports because he's an avid golfer as well, he'll tell you that he would much rather have the game on the line having to shoot some of these crazy circus shots than he would having to make a putt or a punch.
Right.
He's like, bro, this is the pressure is unreal.
Yeah, it is. I don't know. It's just something unique about golf. So
it is, and you can have however many shots it takes. You can have 2 good shots, and you've had a pretty decent day in your mind.
Yeah,
because they happened at the right time, and you remember those shots. But that's something else to me that I've always found interesting that tells you how dialed in these guys are. You can ask Rory about his first Players Championship win, and he will walk you through the final round from opening tee to finishing putt.
Yeah, that to me is the craziest. Like the compartmentalization or the ability to recall
every shot.
Yeah.
It's insane.
I wonder how much of that is them remembering it or like caddies. Like, do you think caddies take notes on what each shot is and then 100%. Just give that book back to the players?
I
mean, I know they obviously say like, oh, your 7 was long on this hole or whatever, you know.
And I think Fitzy's kind of like that. You know, they always talk about
he just, his caddy just left.
Did he?
Yeah.
I would too. I'd have been insane if I'd have had to deal with him. I would have been a mental midget. The numbers that he knows well.
That's right. He's the guy that writes down. He's literally
every yardage book from every tournament since he was a kid. And he makes notes with every shot recorded, every, the distance, the condition, the shot, the outcome. It's crazy. And so to caddy for that guy would be about like trying to caddy for Bryson.
Yeah. You're basically just you are just a bag carrier at that point, or someone to talk sense into him if he's trying something crazy. Otherwise, like, You're not really reading any. I mean, maybe reading some putts, but still,
you're there to confirm his calculations.
Yeah,
and that's all. You're just to give him that extra 5% of confidence he needs to execute that shot. And other than that, you're a mule.
Yeah. So, needless to say, all right. Let's close it up. Let's talk about the Battle One charity event that comes the Monday after Masters. Monday after Masters. I don't know if registration is still open for people listening if they have a team.
Just go ahead and go after it.
Yeah.
Just
try to. Battle1.org or something?
.org, yeah. And it's
Battle1, WON.
Yep. And it's April 21st, and it is a 1 p.m. shotgun start. It's at Westlake. This is the 7th annual tournament. Unfortunately, Drew passed away 8 years ago. I still am absolutely shocked that's the stuff I was talking about when we started about being 50.
Yeah.
There's no way it's been 8 years since that happened. I can remember like it was yesterday.
Right.
I literally can describe to you that I was working on the deck at my house with my father-in-law when we got that phone call. And then he passed. I'm a little gray on this, but I think 4 days later. And I can just remember it like it was yesterday, and to think that it was 8 years ago is just crazy to me. But that tournament, it gets a little bigger and cooler every year. We do have a lot of several new items that we're going to be introducing at the tournament for them.
Yeah.
Not
Kings Creek, just Battle One stuff that
we're producing for them. I mean, We've collaborated on a couple things, but it is, I don't know many people that play in it that don't just say, I just want to be a part of that, because you get to be there and you get to, not only as a whole, the whole thing kind of ministers to their family and to them, and they all play a role in it. They're all there. And it's just a way for starters, it's just a way to raise money for the Battle One Foundation.
Yeah. Maybe we can get Mr. Passmore on in the next coming week or so.
Make that happen.
To talk about, the tournament. I think it's a really good cause. Correct me if I'm wrong, but the organization supports local athletes, like to give athletes opportunities, essentially, right?
And students in general.
Right. Students.
Just you find kids that have got either, desire to attend a camp, or, I mean, a lot of it is they're getting ready to go to college, and you want to give them a little scholarship money for that. Students that have shown, the criteria But anyway, it's just to raise money to give those scholarships, because Drew was so passionate about sports, loved mission field, loved mission work, but he really loved sports, and big baseball player and enjoyed it. And so I think it's just a way to keep them around the ball field, and that's what he would want. And so they figured out a way to be able to raise some money to help some kids. And I think it's a pretty cool.
Yeah, it's definitely it's a beautiful tournament. I got to be a part of it last year for the first time, and definitely one of my favorite tournaments of the year. So
it is a fun time, and it's obviously it's always emotional, but I mean, we often talk about it. I talk to Andy all the time about it. Like, dude, he would be laughing so hard at everybody right now. Like, quit making such a big deal. Go live. I mean, you need to have fun. I mean, you're at a golf tournament. Quit dwelling on this or dwelling on the past and what have you. And I say it a lot about people that have passed away, that, it's hard to come to realize this or come to grips with it, but, given the opportunity, they wouldn't want to come back. That's the beauty of when you got that type of child that you know where he is.
Yeah.
Trust me, it doesn't matter what, he's not coming back.
Yeah.
Given the opportunity, he's good. Trust me. So
I love y'all,
encouraging.
but
but I'm not leaving this.
hey man, the steak up here,
he ain't leaving that.
just hits different. So,
and so it is cool to get to maybe share that with some people. And of course, it's a big catch up time for us too, because we got a lot of people from out of town come for that tournament. So
yeah,
but we love it.
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe I'll put that in the link for this. So, all right. Well, thank you, Jesse, for putting episode 16 together with me, and maybe we'll see who we can get on next.
I'll get Andy if you want him.
I think he'd be a cool guest. For those listening, Brandon, whoever else, if you want to hear someone's story, you think they'd be a good fit for us, let us know. Either talk to Jesse, talk to me. If you're listening, or if you go to pretty much anywhere you listen to this show, there's a little link that says text us, and you can quite literally text us, and we'll get back to you. And I think it'd be fun. I think it'd be fun to have like some more engagement with
somebody we don't know.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm all about it.
I would have, who I thought would be really fun to have on is like a garbage person, the person on the back of a garbage truck.
Who did that?
Theo? I think he might have. But like that is like a brilliant idea. Like that's just salt of the earth guy. I
love it.
I think it'd be fun.
I'll get Andy. You get the garbage man.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're going to get some people, but we just want to make sure it's people that align with us to a certain degree. I mean, I don't mind. I mean, they don't have to agree with me on everything for sure, because I've never met that person actually out there that actually does agree with me the majority of the time. So I'm used to dealing with that. But I do think it'd be cool to get some people that are not really in our circle or not really in our wheelhouse. It's challenging, but I think there's something we can learn from everybody, no matter what you do. And honestly, just for them to know that regardless of what that position is, my, I guess, biggest goal with everything is there's something that you could be doing to affect the greater part of the population, no matter what that position is. And of course, that's the creek in Kings Creek. It should be flowing through you no matter what you're doing, and you should be able to impact people.
Yeah. Love it. All right, guys. Thank you so much for listening. Go check out kingscreekapparel.com, because by the time you listen to this, there is some new stuff out there that is absolutely just insane. The Uncle Jesse hat has, well, I don't want to describe it because the way I describe it is going to, draw some unnecessary attention. But there's some awesome stuff out there that y'all need to go get before it's gone, because it's going quick. I could tell you that much. So
that's right. And my Venmo account is getting full from birthday stuff. So you guys don't have to keep sending all these donations to me for that. I appreciate it, but I'm lying. I'm kind of aimlessly hoping somebody would send me something.
Send you some Venmo.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
But it was a great week. Had a good birthday. I appreciate everybody that's listening, and I'm really looking forward to the next episode. And I don't even know what it's going to be.
That's right. All right. Till next time.
Just on my boots, a little cut in my loose, 2 buttons down on my pearl snap, and an old Stetson hat, a little splash in my cup, a little gas in my truck, little cranked up.
All right, guys, that's a wrap. Thank you so much for listening. If you would please leave us a review and a rating, that is how we get the word out about this podcast. And lastly, go check us out at Kings Creek Apparel. Thank you.